Democrats Amanda Edwards and Christian Menefee advanced to the runoff Tuesday night in a special election for the U.S. House seat that has been vacant since March. Edwards, a former Houston City Council member, and Menefee, who currently serves as the Harris County Attorney, earned the most votes in a very crowded field of 16 candidates. But neither received the 50% of the vote that would send them into office, so it sent them to a runoff instead. The winner is to serve out the remaining term of Democratic Representative Sylvester Turner, who died 2 months after taking office representing the 18th Congressional District. But here to tell us what she's got planned is Amanda Edwards. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm happy to be here.
If folks have questions, comments, concerns they want to share with us, 713-440-8870. My first question to you is, well, first of all, congratulations on making it there to the runoff. But there had to be a part of you that thought, oh, God, here we go again, another campaign. It's been a crazy season. And even if you get in office, it's still a crazy season to come ahead of it.
The best way to describe it is it's been wild. But, we're super grateful, notwithstanding, because of the fact that this is an opportunity to serve such incredible people in a seat that has such rich history, having been served by Barbara Jordan and Mickey Leland and Craig Washington, Sheila Jackson Lee and Sylvester Turner, and now, of course, for its voice to have been silenced for such a long time. If you do the math of when Congresswoman got sick and then passed away, Congressman Turner passing away, the delay in the special election, and now there's going to be a delay in the runoff election. Yeah. We're talking about 18 months with no vote, no voice, nobody advocate on your behalf for federal funding or otherwise. I mean, there's just so much that's missing. And you had such a rich, storied history of representation in this district. And then for it to be silenced in the way that it has just been really, really, I think, a negative on this community. And so they're excited to get their voice back.
There is one point of clarification I want to put in that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the local office has remained open and has continued to process things for people in the 18th. They just have had no representation in Washington.
Correct. So what happens is when you have a member to pass away in the seat, you still continue to have that office remain open with staff only. Staff can deal with things like constituent response questions, issues with a passport, things like that, right? You'd call the congressional office for. But the staff can assist when it comes to securing federal grant dollars. Even if it were sitting on the desk of the congressional member when they passed, it doesn't matter. Those things cannot be facilitated by staff, cannot vote, cannot go to the floor, cannot do the advocacy work. So they do keep them kind of very narrowly focused on constituent response. You will see members of the office occasionally going to certain community events, participating in health fairs or things like that, those sorts of things, but not the advocacy, not the ability to secure federal funding, not the ability to really move the needle from a policy perspective at all.
So you could give me a ticket to the Big Beautiful Ballroom one day.
No, I thought you were going to bring up the Big Beautiful Bill, because because they delayed calling this special election. That Big Beautiful Bill passed by just one vote.
And because
I could have blocked it.
And because Mike Johnson won't swear in the Arizona Congresswoman, no Epstein files.
We have just gotten to a space and time where there is just no limits in terms of just boundaries of what is appropriate and inappropriate and abuse of power. We're just seeing this all be upended in just a very quick period of time. This is something we've got to address.
And I want to ask how you're going to address it, but we got to get you there first.
That's right.
All right, Christian Menefee is a formidable person. I mean, he has a lot of experience and name recognition, and we were talking to him yesterday. So one of the other of you has got to get Jolanda Jones voters, along with other voters, to come into your camp. But your platforms and your concern over issues are pretty similar. So what makes you different than Chris?
I have the experience and the track record in terms of what needs to be done in the community, whether that is your ability to drive in Northeast Houston and see some of the housing I've helped to rebuild, or go down the street and drive over to the Innovation District or ION, which is also a direct product of our work when I was on City Council and started the Technology and Innovation Task Force for the city. One of the things I think is important for people is that they not only see you, but they also know that you will be able to deliver results. And I've got a long track record. I've been around a long while serving this community in various ways, not just as an elected, but also with my nonprofit and just doing the work of the community. And so we consider ourselves to be the people's candidate because we truly are being propelled forward by the community. I'm not the establishment candidate in this race by no means. My line of trust and who I am accountable to extends directly to the community. Nobody else is in line. Nobody else, do I have an allegiance to other than the community members that I'm going to be elected to serve.
And I'm assuming that some of that answer fits this question, too. It was a crowded field of 16 candidates. Why do you think you stood out? There were big names on that ballot, too, that were easily recognizable by people. What rose you to the top?
Absolutely. The community members know me from my work. Yeah. So they don't have to guess what is it going to be like to work with her. Is she going to be good at constituent response? I was excellent at constituent response as a city council member. They know that question and answer. We've answered it. They don't have to ask what it would be like when it comes to being able to see her start and finish a project. We've done many, many projects, efforts that I've led, tech and innovation, small business support for women and minority small business owners. I can go down a very, very long list of the things that we've done in the community alongside them. That's the other piece I think I bring to the table, a community-based orientation. I understand that this district is not just a district, but instead it is a series of communities, neighborhoods, residents, families, all of which have to work together in order to get their needs met. And my goal and my mission is to create an 18 congressional district in a broader Houston area, in a broader nation, in which everybody, no matter what their background, no matter where they live, has the opportunity to thrive. And that means focusing on healthcare access and making sure that it's affordable and that we're expanding coverage rather than removing it. That means when it comes to education, making sure that our education system is supported adequately from a public education perspective. That means when it comes to economic opportunity, there's so many people right now that are frightened out of their minds about how they're going to make ends meet. I literally was passing out fruit on Saturday because of people's fears of what was going to happen with SNAP. Mm-hmm. And, we passed this big, beautiful bill that we already talked about. That's $900 billion in Medicaid cuts, $300 billion in SNAP cuts. And what that will also have the effect of doing is really destabilizing the 18th Congressional District because there's such a disproportionate amount of people, a higher number of people, that are consuming those benefits. And so that's going to be deeply problematic for the district. And so I think the people want somebody they know, where they've kicked the tires, they know what they're about, what they can deliver, and also somebody that can restore confidence that it does make a difference if you vote or not. With me, I showed up on the doorsteps when Harvey happened. I was part of that rebuilding process for them. I didn't go away just because the cameras did. And that's what sticks with people is who's here with us, for us, alongside us that we can trust and will help make sure that we get the results we deserve.
Any thoughts about transportation in this town?
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
Yes, that was an alley-oop. I'm really passionate about transportation. When I was on city council, I got appointed to serve on the HGAC's Transportation Policy Committee Council, which is the TPC, they call it. And each region, ours was an 8-county region, Houston, Galveston area, has one of these that help to get federal dollars to transportation projects. And so these entities exist. Most people don't know that MPOs exist. They do. And ours is called the TPC. So I was on that board. While I was on that board, one of the stats that came up was the fact that we were anticipating growth of 4.2 million people by 2045. So basically now in the next 20 years, we're going to have all of this growth in our 8-county region. But the question is, what are we doing to prepare for that growth so that we're ready. And so we're not having a crisis like LA did, where people were unable to get from one part of town to the next because of the gridlock, because they had not adequately prepared. And so I started the High Capacity Transit Task Force, and we came together with various transportation agencies and came together with a plan on how to try to start making more investment in high capacity transit options for our region, because I believe that we need multimodal transit options. We need it to be grade separated. I know these are things that are going to get me in trouble with some people, but it's important that you have various ways that people can get to and from their workplace, to and from places of entertainment, to and from their home. That impacts the economy. When we made the business case, we made a cost-benefit analysis. What is it costing Houston not to do that? What is it costing us not to invest in don't just look at what smart cities do or good cities do. Let's not use those types of phrases. Let's just look at what makes sense financially, and it makes sense to invest in your multimodal transit options so people can get to where they need to go and be productive in their community.
We're talking with Amanda Edwards, who is in the runoff for the 18th Congressional District against Chris Menefee. If you have a question for Ms. Edwards, 713-440-8870. We do have this newsroom question from our newsroom here. Supposedly, there is a very real chance that Congressman Al Green will enter the Democratic primary for the 18th Congressional District. Talk about formidable. How concerned are you about facing such a primary if you do win the runoff?
We have to do one thing at a time.
Right.
So there is no announcement today about anything happening in the midterm election. I'm focusing on the next few months. First of all, we got to get this special election even with a date. Sure. So we got to get a date on this thing. But I'm focusing on making sure that the voters hear from me during this period of time and know that I am the person that should be elected to serve as their next congresswoman. This is to serve the unexpired portion of the term that was being served by Sylvester Turner. So it's only going to be about a year, but we got to focus on that year because we got some time to make up for. And
just to clarify, so people understand this question and why it comes up. So if the runoff will probably be mid-January.
Yes.
But by March, it's starting, because you're just filling a term remaining. By March, it's already the primary for the next go-round. So it'll be from campaign to campaign, and then in November, that election. And it's still up in the air what that district would be because of the map question that's going on. And so all of this is at play. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's such a truncated period of time. But if you get in, you do have till the remainder of the year in office.
That's correct. You have until the remainder of 2026 in office and to serve the community. And that's where we're focusing our attention at this time. Yes, there will be a midterm without question, and it will happen immediately after the special election runoff has concluded. And but we want to focus our attention right now at the immediate election at hand, which is the runoff.
So we had a listener say, how in the world did Congress get in this position where they are so afraid to speak up against the president? Are they afraid of losing their jobs, their power? What's your answer to that? How did we get in this situation?
I don't know how we got in the position, but I'm going to tell you what I can do about it. And we've got to put people in who are going to come in with a fresh approach, some innovative solutions, but also an ability to stand up for what's right. And what's happening right now is not right. I've never in my lifetime seen a president that has fought against the rule of law, that has fought against healthcare access, education, economic stability, and the way that our president currently has been fighting. And what we need is someone who not only can come in and have a voice and fight back verbally, but you need someone who will also be able to come in with a plan. We right now do not look like we have a strategy for how to play defense in an environment like this. And we've got to, fix that. When I was growing up, I played sports, and you had to play offense and defense. You didn't get to sit on the bench when it was time to play defense. That's when you were on your toes. That's when you were the most nimble. That was when you were the quickest, because that's what defense requires. And so we got to think strategically about how do we get ourselves in a position where we can still move the needle forward, even though he's able to set the agenda. That happens all the time. Look back. Civil rights movement. They were not in power the entirety of the civil rights movement. You can't just believe that you have no work to do when you're not in power. That's where the real work begins. That's the hard work. And so in that case, they had a clarity of mission and purpose. They knew exactly what they were trying to achieve in terms of equity and equality. And they also had a strategy when it came to litigation. They also had a strategy when it came to activism. They had a strategy when it came to legislation. So when they finally got to a point where they had enough votes, they were ready, locked and loaded to get this stuff passed.
And they didn't have PR the way we have it now. They didn't have social media.
No.
Think if they had the power of Instagram and Facebook and social media.
But there was a shared sacrifice. Everybody wanted to achieve the same goal. They had a clarity of purpose. They had a clarity of mission. They knew they wanted to change their life circumstances because what was happening to them was not right. And so people were willing to make the sacrifices, but they were also being clearly, and it was shared with them what that was about. We weren't telling people to boycott just to boycott. They knew why they were boycotting. They knew what one action would do in terms of having an impact on the broader movement. Everybody bought into the movement.
Did you feel a little bit of a boost from all the election results across the country?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it looks like these midterms are going to be an interesting time for Democrats. I think, seeing some wins get put on the board in a year where it's been hit after hit after hit, I think you need to see that. And I think that's been very good in terms of getting that energy up, getting people's attention, that this election, midterms, everything is your life and your future is at stake with this thing. So we got to go out there, show out, turn out and vote, and really make our voices heard.
The turnout for an off-year election is already small.
Yeah.
The turnout for a runoff election is small. They've split this because you've got the city council runoff one and yours also.
Yes.
Is the key to winning turnout?
Yes. I mean, you got to turn your voters back out, right? You've got to turn your base back out. That's key. The worst thing you can have is, I remember when I was running for city council for the first time and I was in a runoff, and I'd call my supporters and say to them, thank you for your support. Looking forward to seeing you on December, whatever the runoff date was. And they'd say to me, well, we thought you already won. And I was like, no.
Well, you are here to let them know today.
Yes, we did not already win. We are in a runoff. We need you to come back and vote. And
Amanda
that is
Edwards,
the key.
I have to thank you for coming
Of
in right
course.
now. Thank you so much. And we'll be watching very
Thank you.
closely. Don't forget to vote when they finally announce when the runoff will be.